But when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's not even really fear. It's more concern. It's more sorrow. It's more nostalgia for the present. As bad as things are now, this is a cakewalk compared to where we're going. And it's just a deep-seated wish and desire to do a better job. I mean, it's such an overpowering responsibility to know what's happening, to understand what the globalists have done, to have their number, to know their modus operandi, to understand who they are, and to understand just how sadistic and psychopathic and wicked they are, and how much danger we are all in, including people that serve this system. And I use the example a lot of Abu Ghraib and other torture centers all over Iraq and the Middle East and into Central Asia and Afghanistan and Eastern Europe and Western Europe and all the secret black sites and the giant cadres of torture teams they've created that even torture people's children, according to the Army's own report, in front of their parents. I mean, that is a bold evil, that the government would go ahead with that. And that when their own minions get caught doing it, they send them to prison for following orders. That ought to tell you about the hypocrisy and just the level of bona fide, naked wickedness that we're dealing with here. The sky is the limit with these people. Just what we know about the globalist is unspeakably bad. Imagine what we don't know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of mainstream news articles this week. We've got links to them up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com with AP, Reuters, The Mail, BBC, going, okay, yeah, hundreds of thousands got Guillain-Barré and narcolepsy and epilepsy and brain damage and autoimmune problems from the vaccine, from the H1N1, exactly as we told you a year ago. And how did we tell you exactly a year ago what would happen? Because we've lived through this over and over again. We just have the courage to read the insert on the vaccine. And it isn't an accident. It isn't just profit-taking by these companies. They cold-bloodedly know what they're doing. They're testing, killing us and maiming us out in the open and getting away with it. And every time my wife's at a grocery store, she sees people lined up taking the shots, and it freaks her out. It freaks me out. You want to just go up and warn these poor people going into 21st century equivalent of ditches, gas chambers. We're going to come back, take your phone call. Stay with us.
We now take you live
to the Central Texas Command Center
in the heart of the resistance. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
So it's all real. It's all out in the open now, and you've got a decision to make. Are you going to be on the side of this system? Because even if you sit there on your hands, you are aiding the globalist. Or are you going to get off the bench and take action against the New World Order? Americans have been trained to sit on the fence, to sit in the middle of the road, to be bystanders. This is too dangerous to do that. You understand, it's much more dangerous historically, and all the evidence shows currently, to not speak out against this corruption than it is to speak out against it. If we fight this as hard as we can, we may be able to back them down, slow them down while we grow our numbers. But if people don't stand up, and I'm talking to other talk show hosts, I'm talking to mainline talk show hosts, they're not stupid. They know this stuff's real. And if they keep playing along with this, you're not going to have to say, oh, it'll hurt, our children down the road. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your wife. It's going to hurt your husband. It's going to hurt your community now. Okay, we know what globalism is. It is high-tech, neo-serfdom, feudalism, slavery. It's real. And a total control grid has been put in place ahead of the implosion we're now descending into. Now, I'm done ranting about that. I got a bunch of news I want to cover, but let's start going to your phone calls. Let's talk to Matt in Minnesota. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. I wanted to share a news story with you, but first, yeah, in regards to the economic collapse, I think the crisis is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and that's based on a lot of the information that's out there. Even
well, they always create a new crisis, then get more power, then create a new crisis. This is all designed.
Right. It's just the news every day is just more and more ridiculous, and And like you said, and this is something you talked about, I think, in Terror Storm, is that whether it's the military strategy or these economic strategies, I mean, they're even more bold than Hitler and Mussolini and these guys. They just say this stuff right out in the open, and they talk about these crazy strategies, and it's just amazing that more and more people really aren't picking up on it.
I hear you. What's your point on the economy, Matt?
Oh, well, you know, I just wanted to, in regards to that, the economy and controlling the people, there was a news article in the Star Tribune, the local paper here in Minnesota, and the headline is, "President Can Oust Speech Dissenters." And it says, "A president and his aides are free to screen audiences for his public speeches and to remove those who may disagree with him."
Well, yeah, the Supreme Court just ruled last week that under Cheney and Bush, they would, if you had a Democratic or a Union bumper sticker at a supposed public town hall, that they would kick people out or not allow them in, even though they advertise it as a public event. And so, yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They in the article they cited some woman who had a no more blood foil bumper sticker. But I just think that's pretty amazing because, I mean, this is just a small article in the middle of the paper, and I mean, this is just more announcement of just the overt dictatorship that really exists in this country, you know?
And notice how everything Bush did, Obama has turbocharged it, and the next president will turbocharge it. And there's no doubt they're going to put a Republican in, and they're going to blow up a bunch of stuff after they get into office and say Al-Qaeda did it, and then use the control grid already in place against the American people. Matt, I appreciate your call. Before I go back to calls, let me hit a few police state news items here, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's the bad. U.S. pushes to ease technical obstacles to wiretapping. And they go on to admit no warrants, no nothing. They just want more control systems in to AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, where they can automatically tap anything without a warrant. Well, we already know that's in place. But there's the New York Times just announcing it to people. Here's the good. You can photograph that federal building. All over the country, police will march up, local police, federal, it doesn't matter, and they'll say, you can't videotape the demonstration. You can't videotape the police from even 100 yards away when they're out in public view. And they'll arrest you for wiretapping. They've just been losing in court on that. You know, there's no perception of privacy in a public place. How do they videotape us? Same issue. Eavesdropping would be if you went and stuck a camera in somebody's backyard, you know, through their window shades as they were undressing. That's what happened in, of course, Pennsylvania and other states where the schools are watching the kids at home over their government-issued laptops. And the court said they can do that. So, but they did settle to so it wouldn't get appealed. Continuing. So the bad is they're expanding warrantless wiretapping. The good is the right of photographers to stand in public places and take pictures of federal buildings has been upheld by a legal settlement reached in New York. In the ever-escalating skirmishes between photographers and security agencies, the most significant battlefield is probably the public way, streets and sidewalks, parks and plazas, which have customarily been regarded as a vantage from which photography cannot be and should not be barred. But it goes on to how the feds would arrest people doing that. Same thing's going on in England. And of course, real terrorists would just go to Google Street View and get, as if real terrorists exist outside of fantasy land. You know, the terrorists are those running the federal government, and they stage the terror to set up a police state. That's obvious, and they admit it. They issue terror alerts for political gain. That's admitted. I mean, this is all out in the open. But you know, their claim of, oh, you can't videotape the police, you can't videotape this building, it's asinine. So that's been overturned in court. That is some good news. And here's the ugly news of the good and bad and ugly. And we have a clip of this up on Infowars.com. It's ABC News. Newborn child taken away because of bagel. And I constantly in the news hear about 30, 40, 50-year-old people with no criminal record at major corporations having to give urine or now blood samples or hair samples. And a hair sample goes back through your entire life. And I tend to eat bagels with poppy seeds at least once a week. In fact, I had some this weekend. And they're on a lot of hamburger buns at nicer, you know, hamburger shacks. And it causes no effect mentally, does nothing, but it gives a false positive for opiates. And I've seen these cases before. You know, they don't tell a woman that when she's getting blood work done before she has a baby and after, And a lot of times there's false positives. That's also come out for marijuana, for other drugs. There are a lot of cold medicines and medicines that deal, obviously, with allergies that have things that are precursors to methamphetamine in them. And once the CPS takes your child, they don't care if you go get more blood work. They don't care if it shows that you weren't snorting methamphetamine or taking heroin or opiates or Oxycontin. They take your child, and that's the way it is. So parents should know that the hospitals are spy grids. And in many drug tests, they have as high as a third of the time false positives. This is a story that will likely outrage many moms. Liz Mort gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, but the next day, police and Child Protective Services in Pennsylvania, it's always Pennsylvania, came to her home and took the infant from her, all because of a bagel. Liz Mort says she never saw it coming. I was shocked. I was at a loss for words. I started crying, she said. Child Protective Services in Pennsylvania were at her doorstep taking her one-day-old baby because they thought Liz was abusing drugs. Someone was saying that, oh, we're CYS and we found something in your system. And at that time, I never heard of it before. It means that they have to take custody of your child, Mort said. And it says Jameson Hospital in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Newcastle, I saw this in '98. It was in the AP. A guy was walking through a Walmart parking lot. The police cruiser windows were down. The German Shepherd jumped out, started growling at him, and he did what you're supposed to. You don't run from a vicious dog. My wife this weekend forgot to carry her mace when she was jogging in the neighborhood, and a big dog ran out, growling at her, and she said, "You get out of here! You get out of here!" And the dog backed off, and the owner came out and said, "Hey, don't be mean to my dog. He just looks mean." I love these people with big, vicious dogs who aren't trained, who get off on menacing people, and then their dog runs out at your wife. She didn't have her pepper spray. She screams at it, and they get mad. It's like one time I was pushing my firstborn in a baby stroller. This giant pit bull runs out of a garage, out to the sidewalk, starts getting ready to bite me, and I rear back, get ready to kick it, and it moves back out of the way, and some guy runs out in a wife beater and goes, "What are you doing to my dog?" And I was wound up because I, primitive instincts, I had my baby. And I said, "Listen, pal, you better put your dog on a leash right now. You think you're tough?" And the guy was kind of bowing up, and I said, "Well, come on, come on." And I shouldn't have done that, but the point is I was ready to tear him and his dog to pieces. But side issue, and any man is like that. I'm not a tough guy. Some big, giant black pit bull runs out, and some wife beater with mustard stains on his shirt runs out of his garage. "Listen, keep your dog on a leash, pal." But I'm digressing. The police dog in Newcastle, PA, jumps out. The guy yells at it to make it back off. The cops walking out of Walmart and comes over and arrest him, and they charged him, and he was convicted for verbally assaulting an officer. See, their dogs are better than us. In fact, I clipped that out of the Austin American Statesman in '98. Search "man arrested" for yelling at police dog, Newcastle, PA. Let's see if that was ever put on the web. Man arrested for yelling at police dog. I'm digressing, and I said I'd take calls. We're going to go to Shanky, Jim, Joe, John, Noel, and others in a moment. But the issue here is, what a freak zone Newcastle, PA is. I guess near there, they watch kids on their laptops at home and in the shower. But that's okay, they say. It's all part of freedom, all part of 1984. Jameson Hospital in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, tests mothers of newborns for drugs. State law allows it. But what the hospital did not consider more closely was poppy seeds. And you notice they don't tell you everything you can say and do will be used against you. They don't tell you you're in a law enforcement situation. When they ask, "You got enough money yet, honey? You need some government assistance?" Boom, your kids are taken because you said you were poor. "Oh, does your husband ever yell at you?" "Yeah, sometimes." There it is, 28-year-old man charged with cruelty to animals. And it says police arrested a 28-year-old man Sunday on the cruelty to animals charge after he yelled an obscenity at a police dog in a patrol vehicle, according to the affidavit arrest. Is that in Pennsylvania, or that may be another one? No, that's 2008. I guess there's a new one. 10 years before that, I saw an article in 1998 about it. I said 2008. But there it is, 2008. Okay, so he got arrested. Don't worry. Dog, that was Florida. Police say Rogers yelled, or put it back up, an obscenity statement in the window as he walked past a patrol vehicle that contained a patrol dog, causing the dog's behavior to become overloaded, tormenting the dog, the affidavit says. And I don't know in that case if it barked at him. But